Welcome to the fourth part of the Sittingbourne Kemsey Light Railway podcast. In this part, we're going to stroll around Kemsey Down and find out the latest news from the various departments, and then I'll talk about the sad passing of 3 members in 3 years, membership, and how you can get involved in work weekends. So let's first have a look at a diagram of Kemsey Down Station. This site was a blank canvas back in January 1970. Points and track panels arrived on wagons and trucks and were positioned to form pretty much the same track layout we have now. Over the years, the rhythm end sidings have been shortened, and the rolling stock is reshuffled every few years. One of the biggest problems following the closure of the line in 2008 was the arrival of wagons from Sittingbourne Viaduct Station, which had to be accommodated here. This led to an inspection of vehicles, and a couple of wagons have since been cut up as they were beyond repair. As the diagram shows, we have 2 platforms, 3 rhythm end sidings, museum walk siding, carriage and wagon siding, museum siding, the middle siding, diesel road, and the 2 road engine shed with the transfer siding alongside, and they all fan out from the top points by the level crossing. We shall first visit the carriage and wagon department. Coach 659, named George Stickler after a long-serving member, was completely rebuilt through 2010 and re-entered service for the public operations in October. Finished to a high standard, this vehicle has now set the benchmark for those to follow. The coach has been painted in green, as was carried by the Bowwalters Works train coaches when it was originally built as a coach back in 1957. The biggest difference between the original Bowwalters version and ours is that we've added a door so that you can board and alight on either side of the coach. They were originally built with just one door as the platforms were on the same side. Work has now started on coach 660, another former 1957 Bowwalters coach. This has been stripped right down to the chassis, which is undergoing overhaul. This coach will be converted into a closed brake coach, featuring a guards compartment at the Sittingbourne end and a passenger area at the rhythm end, similar to coach 657 but in reverse, and will be named after Tony Noakes. Speaking of coach 657, this coach spent a bit of time in works during 2010, having the side panels replaced as the previous panels were degrading with age and wear. This coach was able to return to service for the public days too. On the wagon front, there have been a number of reshuffles in wagons. Wagon 611, formerly the fire escape wagon adjacent to the museum, was cut up in January this year. The wagon was too corroded to be saved, although some of the parts have been set aside for evaluation for further use. As the pictures show, the metal moss got to this one. This wagon was a 14-ton steel pulp wagon constructed by Butterley. The wagons in Museum Walk were reshuffled as access was needed to wagon 580, a 10-ton Bagnall rubbish wagon. These movements were used as part of shunting training for 2 of our newer members. The museum was part-way through being rewired as part of its renovation. However, the loss of John Hindle has delayed the rewiring. That doesn't mean that work stopped on the museum. In fact, the railway has paid for a new fire exit, elevated walkway to be constructed behind it. The first step was to remove wagon 611, and then lift the track section at the rhythm end of the middle road siding, next to the museum siding. The new walkway looks great and should last many years to come. The Locomotive Engineering Department have been hard at work carrying out maintenance on Melia and continuing the restoration of Leader and Superb back into service. Leader's boiler has now been positioned upright so that safety tests can be carried out. Once all the testing is complete and the boiler is ready to go back on the chassis, she'll start to look like an engine again. On the diesel front, Victor suffered from a serious gearbox fault, which could only be accessed by removing the cab top and winching it out from above. Work is ongoing to fix the gearbox casing. Barton Hall suffered from bad timing and had to be rectified, and she now works a treat. The actual engine shed itself has been rewired and new lighting installed, extensively tidied up, and the new doors at the back of the shed have been completed. Let's pop next door to the railway shop. The railway shop did a roaring trade during the public opening in October, and the away sales team raised essential funds for the railway at exhibitions and open days throughout 2010. This has continued into 2011. We have just completed our first model railway exhibition of the year at Homewood School in Tenterden. The forthcoming events for the away sales team are the Chatham Show on the 11th and 12th of June, www.chathamshow.co.uk, and Shoebury Ness Model Railway Club's Southend exhibition on the 19th and 20th of November. See www.shoeburynessmrc.co.uk for further information. Now we'll pop across to the Footplate Cafe. A lot of work has been carried out here. The canopy on the front of the building has now got its own guttering, so you won't get quite as wet when it's raining. And inside, the walls and ceiling have been repainted. Whilst we're here, I'd like to discuss membership with you. The current membership rates are £18 for adults, that's people aged over 18, £5 for juniors aged 14 to 17, and £30 for families of 2 adults and up to 4 children. There's also £300 for individual life membership. Members receive unlimited travel on the railway, regular issues of the railway's magazine The New Bogie, and are covered by personal accident insurance whilst working at the railway. Extra help is always welcome with all aspects of running the railway, from train operating staff, no experience necessary, to restoring and maintaining buildings, track, carriages and locomotives. You can also assist with gardening, painting, selling tickets, refreshments and souvenirs. Whatever your interests and however little time you can spare, Sittingbourne Steam Railway would like to hear from you. New members are vital for the future of the railway. As I announced in Part 3, the railway has suffered from the loss of 2 key members, but there was a third, Tony James, who passed away in July 2009. Everyone missed his welcome to Kemsley Down in October. Not all of the roles at the railway require you to have an understanding of railways or their operations, and when they do, we'll train you. There are numerous jobs that can be carried out from the comfort of your own home. We desperately need administrative help, and someone with a proven track record for getting lottery grants or third-party funding would be most welcome. The railway has around 300 members from all over the world, of varying ages and abilities. Of these, around 50 to 60 are active members, which is actually quite high for a voluntary organisation. Even non-working members are doing their bit by paying their subscriptions and keeping up to date on the railway's coming and goings through the new bogie, which I'm sure they discuss with their friends. We have a very active junior membership, which shows that the PlayStation generation are just as keen as many of the adults were when they were at that age. Indeed, that's how I and many of my peers started. So, if you're interested in becoming a member, why not come along to one of the fortnightly work weekends? We'll give you 3-day membership, tools, training and even lunch. It's a great way to see how friendly we are and experience working with our team of active volunteers. Many people have done this over the last year or so, and we're always happy to have new friends. If you can't make it to the railway, you can still become a member. Every contribution helps. Membership application forms and details are available at www.sklr.net/membership. Now I'd like to give you a quick update on the podcast. As you are probably aware, this podcast has been produced in parts over several weeks, mostly because it's a catch-up programme, but I wonder whether you prefer these bite-sized chunks to a longer programme. How do you get the podcast? It's available on iTunes or through Libsyn, the iTunes host, as well as YouTube, Facebook, BritishRailways.tv, RailwayForum.tv and RailwayWorld.tv. Viewing figures have been very strong, but bizarrely, Libsyn's stats show that the majority of the viewers through iTunes and Libsyn itself are from Texas in the United States. Now, I'm not complaining. Hello, Texas! But I'd be interested to know where you're listening from. In the next podcast, I'll give you an update on the viewing figures for this programme. They slowly build up over time, so waiting until then will give a clearer picture. And that's it from me at Kemsey Down. We'll head back to the train now, and in the next part of the podcast you'll find out about our public reopening last October. Thanks for watching, and see you in part 5.